And welcome back to Metropol Sports Center. My name is Nation Owano. As I had promised you earlier in the first part of the show, I was going to be having a special guest in studio for you. My guest today is Lindiwe Dube, who's a sports journalist from Supersport and hosts the show that is Home Ground if you're a follower of the show on DSTV. Now, Lindiwe, thank you so much for finding time to come on Metropol Sports Center. Your debut on Kenyan TV and your debut also on Metropol Sports Center.
Thank you so much for the invite. I know it's been a long time coming. We started talking, several weeks ago, and it's finally happening. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. I was asking you, does it feel different being on the other side of the camera? Because normally you're used
It
to
absolutely does. It absolutely does feel different because I'm so used to being the one who's asking the questions. Mm-hmm. So now I'm on the other side. You are asking all the questions, and all I have to do is listen. It's different. It's quite refreshing to just relax and enjoy the interview. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Maybe for somebody who's watching you for the first time, I think they will be interested to know, at what point did you realize that you are into sports this much? Because maybe for those who do not know, you won the Chairman's Award at the PSL Awards ceremony. Maybe at what point did you realize that sports was the in thing for you?
Yes. Okay, so I grew up in a township, obviously in South Africa, Johannesburg, and that's where my influence comes from. We every weekend would pretty much do the same thing. You go watch football, even during the December holidays, you go watch football. I mean, I come from a disadvantaged background, so we didn't really have the luxury of traveling during the festive season and all of that. So we would just watch football regularly. And I mean, in a township like mine, there isn't really much. There aren't a lot of facilities. I mean, you don't generally have a tennis court or a netball court, or you have a pool somewhere, It's mainly football pitches, and it's not even like proper stadiums. We call it groundini because, I mean, it doesn't even have, it doesn't have any grass, you're from Africa, you're from Kenya, you know what it's like. Yeah. So that's where it all started from me, for me. Rather, just growing up in the township, and I think I wanted to get into broadcasting. I remember I was watching the AFCON final in 2012 between Zambia and Ivory Coast. That's when I decided that I wanted to get into broadcasting because, obviously, for my love, for the sports and just the knowledge, and I was passionate and I was outspoken. So for me, it was about being more than just a fan, and just challenging myself in a male-dominated industry.
Interesting you mentioned the male-dominated aspect, because I believe it wasn't easy for you, because even looking at situation and things over here in Kenya, the system seems to be in a way favoring male athletes or people who are in the sports sphere. So how were you able to cut a niche for yourself and get to where you are in the sporting world?
Yeah, I think like any other industry, sports is very competitive. It's got its own challenges. Like you said, just getting into this market is very tough because it's competitive. It's already, as a woman, whatever you say or do will always be scrutinized. So I think you have to want it for the right reasons. You have to, Carol Shabalala, the First Lady of Sports, always says that you need to be passionate about it, because if you aren't passionate, it's going to show. You can't thumbsuck things, when it comes to sports. You need to know what you're talking about. So for me, I think I just put in the work. I put in the work. I just trusted God, and I just felt like if I just do me, someone's always watching, and I felt like God will do the rest, and even once you're in, you don't rest, because even the best athletes in the world don't rest on their laurels. You keep working hard. You can score a brace this weekend, next time you want to score a hat trick. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. So the work never ends. You constantly put in the work. Because for us as women, it's even tougher, so we have to work twice as hard. And this is not just in front of camera, even behind the scenes, how you carry yourself on match days when you are surrounded by 90%, men, when your craft, do you respect the craft? Do you respect call time? Do you get what I mean? It starts with the basic things like how you dress, how you present yourself, because if I'm going to be showing a cleavage on match day, no one is going to take me seriously or what I have to say, So you always want the viewer to be captivated by your content and delivery, you know. And I always say the looks are just a bonus for us, you know. It's all about the content and delivery, because, you know, with television, you entertaining, you informing, and you educating the viewer at home.
Okay. I know various people in the federation, both here in Kenya and in South Africa, are going to be watching this particular episode. Maybe just as we wrap up that particular first question, maybe what are some of the things that they need to do to probably, because as we've said, the playing field is not a level between the male in the sports industry. It's more of
Yes.
inclined towards the male athletes or people who are working in the sporting arena. What do you think needs to be done to probably give equal chances to ladies or women who are working in the sports industry?
Yeah, I think brands need to step up, organizations as well, because in South Africa, we just had the Sasol Women's League that was launched not so long ago, you know. So for us to have Banyana compete in the FIFA Women's World Cup shows that we aren't where we were a few years ago. Do you get what I mean? So we're not where we were. However, I still feel like there's a lot of work that could be done. There's a lot of inequality in sports. I mean, you look at the gents and how much they earn, and you look at our women, you know, some of the women in our sports have like main jobs, and for them sports is like a side hustle, whereas with our male athletes it's a main gig, because you're getting over 250,000 rands a month. You're getting all these endorsements from all these brands, whether it's lifestyle wear, whether it's energy drinks, whether it's sponsored cars and all of that. So I honestly feel like brands need to step up, because I mean, I also work a lot on netball, and I look at the Spar Proteas, the South African national team. 80% of our Spar Proteas play abroad. They play in the Australian League, they play in the New Zealand League, they play in England. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's only like a handful that can brag about, you know, partnerships with certain brands, you know. So I just feel like brands need to come on board and invest in women's sports. As much as they invest in the men's sports, they also need to invest in women's sports, you know, because I want to drive and see a Carla Pretorius on a billboard. You know, she's one of the best players in the world. I want to drive by a billboard and see Carla. You know, I want to drive and see Kanyisa Chawane Bongiwe Msomi, you know, the captain of the Spar Proteas. But you always drive and you see all these guys, you know, from the Springboks, and you're like, where are the ladies? I mean, the ladies are doing so well. In the 2019 World Vitality Netball World Cup, our girls finished 4th. And that's a big feat, because you'll remember that South Africa played Australia in that semi-final. Australia is the #1 ranked team, you know, in netball. So for South Africa to lose by just 2 points in a semi-final tells you that we are not where we were a few years ago, because the Spar Proteas previously would get, like, you know, a thrashing against New Zealand or Australia, but now we are, you know, toe-to-toe with them. And I just feel like there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and brands need to come on board and invest.
Okay. Please tell me I'm not the only one who was annoyed when the whole COVID situation broke out, and now football fans will not go into the stadium. Please tell me you also felt the same sentiments.
Sure, that's been one of the hardest things about COVID, hey, because obviously when we had our project restart, we went into a bio bubble for about a month, and we just, you get to match venue and it's so quiet. It's so quiet. It's the weirdest thing, because we aren't used to hearing the coaches, you know, swear or whatever on the sidelines. Now you can hear everything because the stadiums are empty. And you'll notice that for some teams, it's a major challenge, because some teams like Kaizer Chiefs rely on the fans, you know, and some teams are enjoying it, you know. So I think it's good and bad. Obviously, it's good in the sense that we want people to be safe. We can't risk people's lives. Do you get what I mean? We want everyone to stay home and stay safe. So when all of this is over, then we can all come back and watch the beautiful game. And also sometimes when your team is not doing well, you know that there isn't pressure from the fans. No one is going to be booing the coach or booing the players, you know. So COVID has its advantages and disadvantages, but we absolutely miss the fans. It's not the same without them. It's not the same.
I was going crazy during that time because I remember at the moment we were not allowed to. There was sort of like a lockdown over here, and most of us really struggled to keep sane. How did you keep sane during those times? Because most of the time when you're in the house, you're just using the house as a transit point. But now here's a situation where you cannot go to the stadium, you cannot go out, you're just locked in your house. How were you able to keep sane during that time?
Sure. Lockdown, I think, was tough on everyone. Lockdown was tough on everyone because it was new for all of us, you know. But I always try to draw positives from whatever situation that we're going through. For me, it gave me time to just reflect and rest, because, you know, when the season is on, it gets extremely busy with all the traveling. You hardly ever see your family because you're traveling from one game to the next. You are in studio, you're doing this, you're doing that, you know. So it just gave me an opportunity to rest and reflect, and also just spend quality time with loved ones, because when we start working, we hardly ever have time, you know. You hardly ever have time. You travel from one city to the next, It's different matches, you know. So I think for me, lockdown was good in that sense, that we got to rest. It was more like a forced leave, you know. So I rested, I spent time with my loved ones, and you regroup, you know. You just also have to be grateful for the small things. Just being surrounded by family during lockdown, having shelter, having basics, you know, like food. And because it was tough for some people lost their jobs, you know. People were retrenched and all of that. So I just tried to focus on the positives. Yes, we were stuck at home, but it was for you know, it was for a good reason.
Interesting you've mentioned about jobs. If there are people whose jobs were at stake during that time, were footballers and part of the supporting staff that work in the sporting fraternity, maybe you could try paint a picture for us on how the various organizations and sporting clubs over there did what they did to probably support their players and support the staff that was working with the teams during that time.
Yeah. I think most organizations kept like a bevy of their employees. I know with us at Supersport, we weren't working, but we were doing things virtually. We'd have regular meetings and all of that, you know, to discuss the way forward, you know, live during COVID and all of that. So I think different entities had different plans and different strategies, and you know, they were still working. I know with our teams locally, they were training via Zoom and all of that. They were still working. So I think everyone had a different dynamic to how they ran things during lockdown, you know.
Probably how instrumental was the federation in terms of providing support during such times, because the sporting fraternity relies a lot on ticket sales. At least I know that's the situation over here. They rely a lot on ticket sales and sponsorships from different corporates. What was the kind of support that was given to the teams from the federations in South Africa?
I can't really elaborate on all the teams, because, as you know, all the teams differ. You know, you've got like the big three: Mamelodi Sundowns, Pirates, Kaizer Chiefs, Supersport United, Big Four, Orlando Pirates. Actually, like, let's say the top 5 teams with all the major sponsors. So obviously they were well taken care of. But more the teams that are like more middle class and, you know, low, I know that some of them really struggled. You know, some of them went paying, you know, incomes and all of that. It was tough. I mean, this was something new for everyone. It was really tough. But I know that some teams were still paying their employees. I remember Dr. Patrice Motsepe did say that whether you are a cleaner at Mamelodi Sundowns or you're an athlete, you will get paid. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was different for everyone. I think, yes, we were all affected by COVID. I think also us as individuals, because when you're not on television, you're doing MC work, you're doing other things, you know, but you couldn't do all of that now because you're under lockdown, you know, and there are no events to MC, there's nothing. So I think we were all affected.
Okay. Now that we've accepted that COVID-19 is amongst us, I mean, it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Maybe you could just paint a brief picture to us about how the teams have sort of like adapted to the whole situation. Probably what are some of the steps that they're taking to probably allow teams back into the clubs, and how the corporates have been supportive to this whole COVID situation.
obviously it started from the bio bubble. When we went in the bubble, we all had to test. First, that's the first thing that we all did, you know, from talent to production team to the clubs, the different football clubs, everyone tests. And we still do that. We test regularly at Supersport. If you're gonna be on a production with, you know, 80 other people, and then there's also the different clubs, we all test, and if you're not feeling well, you don't go to work. Do you get what I mean? Because we can't risk people's lives. So we test regularly, we maintain social distancing, we follow all the COVID-19 protocols, you know, because that's all we can do for now, and it's back to business in South Africa. Football has resumed. We follow all the COVID protocols, and yeah, life is somewhat semi back to normal.
Okay. Probably in terms of, do you have like a date on when probably the fans are going to be allowed back into the stadium?
Well, we don't at the moment, because it's not the Premier Soccer League that decides. It's our government. So because we're still under extended lockdown 3, the president of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, hasn't announced yet. You know, I mean, we go to funerals in South Africa with a maximum of 50 people, you know, nothing more than that. So you can imagine what's going to happen when the stadiums reopen, you know, and obviously they don't want to risk people's lives. So the president hasn't said anything yet about when fans can be expected back at the stadium. So as it stands, no fans are allowed at the match venues.
Okay, maybe as we wrap up, I'd just like to get your insights with relation to how the PSL stands at the moment. Any surprises that you're expecting? Probably, most importantly, Mamelodi Sundowns at the top of the table right now. Do you think they have a chance to win the league?
Absolutely. I mean, Mamelodi Sundowns are competing in 3 different competitions, you know, the CAF Champions League, the Nedbank Cup, and of course the DStv Premiership. They are one of 2 unbeaten teams in the league. And the beauty about Sundowns is that you can see the unison within the team. You know, they have 3 head coaches, Coach Manqoba Mngqithi, Rulani Mokoena, as well as Coach Steve Kompela, you know, and they've got the depth in that squad, you know. They've got a strong lineup, but they also have like a strong bench. And that's the beauty about Mamelodi Sundowns. And I don't see anyone stopping Mamelodi Sundowns right now. In the league, I won't lie. I don't see anyone stopping them, you know. They've done so well. They're consistent. That's the thing. Mamelodi Sundowns is very consistent. You know, they put in the work. They don't rest. They know that there's a lot of pressure on them to defend, you know, both the Nedbank Cup as well as the DStv Premiership, you know. Right now, what are the surprises? Obviously, Swallows Football Club returning back to top flight football. I mean, they remain unbeaten as well. Their story is quite interesting. Kaizer Chiefs, Kaizer Chiefs, it's been a tough one for them because they can't sign players. Maritzburg United are at the bottom of the table. They've picked up just 9 points in 15 matches, and they've lost some influential players, you know, like goalkeeper Richard Ofori, who joined Orlando Pirates. Keegan Buchanan is gone. So they've lost some influential players, and it's not really looking good for them.
Okay, interesting. You've not mentioned Orlando Pirates at the moment. What's exactly going on at the Pirates camp?
In the Pirates camp, there's a lot of inconsistency. I'm not convinced that Pirates really wants to challenge for the league honor. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. Because there's a lot of inconsistency. When Pirates lines up, you don't know who's going to be in the lineup today. You know, with Mamelodi Sundowns, you know who the front 3 are. Do you get what I mean? But with Pirates, they always play with a different starting 11. Pirates, I'm not really convinced with the type of football that they've been playing. We expect more from Pirates. I mean, if you want to contend for the league, you can't drop points the way that they do. Do you get what I mean? They're inconsistent. You win one match and then you go on to draw the next match. Then you lose the next match, you know? But you need to be consistent. You need to keep clean sheets. I mean, if you want to win the league, you can't be conceding every game. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. Probably as we wrap up, which are some of the players that people need to watch out in the South African League this season?
Oh, this season, definitely Peter Shalulile of Mamelodi Sundowns. He's been consistent. He scores for Sundowns. If he's not scoring, he's assisting. Peter Shalulile, his partnership with Themba Zwane has really been incredible. So Themba Zwane, of course, is the reigning, player of the season. Still the reigning player of the season is always, you can't rule out Themba Zwane. He's got 8 goals to his name this season. There's Bradley Grobler of Supersport United. He's the current top goal scorer with 13 goals. There's Tlakusani Mthethwa from Swallows Football Club. He's received 5 Man of the Match awards, this season so far. There's Mduduzi Mdantsane from Cape Town City. I think he's having a good season. And yeah, he can continue if he has like an injury-free season, So there's quite a few players to look out for. Who else? But those are some that stand out for me and who've been consistent game in and game out.
Okay. Probably I'll give you this moment to probably speak to women in sports in Kenya and in South Africa. What advice would you give them? Because as we've mentioned when you are starting, the field is not as level as it should be. Probably what they need to do, maybe just a pointers from you, because you've already been there,
Yes.
you know the challenges that are there, maybe what are some of the things that they need to look out for.
Yeah. My advice to young women who would like to get into broadcasting, first, it's very important to establish your why. Why do you want to get into broadcasting? First, establish that. And then once you know that, then you'll know why you want to be in the industry. Then you can tackle whatever challenge that comes your way, because you also need to have a strong mentality. The industry is not as glamorous as it looks. There's a lot of work that goes into production. We are not spoon-fed at Supersport. I work on different shows. I work on Fan Base, I work on Home Ground, I work on Match Day Live, and you are not spoon-fed. Everything is all on you. So you have to put in the work. You have to want it more than the next person. You have to be consistent. You must be willing to learn, because you can never arrive. You must be willing to learn. You keep learning. Each production, I always say, each production is an opportunity to improve. You're as good as your last game. If you weren't happy with your pre or post-match interviews, you know that the next game you have to improve, and yeah, just put in the work, respect the craft, respect the people that you work with, and start somewhere, because people, our journeys are not, and they will never be the same. You might start at Metropol TV, but someone else might have to start somewhere. Whether you blog, whether you're doing Instagram live videos, whether you are shadowing someone or you're volunteering somewhere, I always encourage people to start somewhere. Just do something, so you just, acquire those skills, and you enhance, your skill, and you watch senior anchors like Robert Marawa, Carol Shabalala, people who've been in the industry for the longest time, and it's also very important how you carry yourself. And I always stress this, that you need to be able to command respect before you even open your mouth, because you are a woman. The coach you are interviewing has already judged you,
Yes.
So how you present yourself is very important, because then you are able to command respect without even opening your mouth. Do you get what I mean? So once then you open your mouth, then he can listen, because he's like, oh, okay, she's making sense. She knows what she's talking about. She knows my team. She knows X, Y, Z, But if you arrive there and you're in a skimpy outfit, no one is going to take you seriously. So just respect the craft, enjoy it. Enjoy the process. Don't worry about what's next after Metropol TV. I want to go to Sky. You master this and you put in the work, you have fun, because also it's such a blessing to do what we do. So many people want to be in your shoes right now, So you never ever take it for granted. You stay humble, you have fun, you respect the craft, you pray about it, and you keep working. Someone is always watching.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lindiwe, for finding time to be on Metropol Sports Center. I'm looking forward to having you on the show again. I believe this is just the first of many on Metropol Sports Center and on Kenyan television. Pass my regards to Minin Lamili and Lungile Radu and the whole home ground team.
Will do. Thank you so much for having me. I hope the viewers will enjoy this interview. I'm looking forward to coming through to Kenya one day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Do have a nice weekend.
Bye.
Bye. Well, that's all the time that we had on the second part of Metropol Sports Center. We take a short commercial break. After the break, I'm going to be joined by Eric Shilenje, and you're going to be talking about matters the CAF Champions League. See you after the break.